Hey, oh, Omni Dogs and Omni Kittens. It's Omni Dog here with my favorite comics of 2020. Now, 2020 was the very definition of sucky year. It sucked for a lot of people. So, one place that we sought refuge was comic books. They lifted our spirits and helped us feel better during quarantine. If we were sick, if you had something going on in your family, 2020 was a tough year, and comic books could help us through it. Um, the reason I took so long, it's almost the end of January. The reason I took so long in doing this was I wanted to make sure I got my favorite books, and I had to whittle it down to about from a billion to about a million, down to about 20. So I have a lot of books to talk about, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each book, but I am going to give a summary of each book quickly so that you can know why I enjoyed it and why it was my favorite, and maybe you can get some ideas out of this video for books for you to check out. So first, it's kind of a grouping, and that is, come here, you. That is the young adult line at DC. This is one of the things that DC's doing right. And you are doing yourself a disservice if you don't at least try these books. Some of the best DC stories are in these books from 2020. Now, one of my books of the year, this is my number 2 book of the year. I'm putting it in with these other young adult books, and that's Superman Smashes the Klan. I've talked about this before, so I don't need to go into it at great length. It was taken from, I believe, 1940s Superman radio serial Clan of the Fiery Cross. This is Gene Yang with art by Gurihuru. And in it, Superman takes on prejudice in a setting where the Lees, I believe, Roberta and Tommy Lee come to China, moved with their parents from Chinatown to the center of Metropolis, and so they experience prejudice there in the form of the Klan. And the art is great, but the story is remarkable, and it's very timely, because no matter what you want to believe, recent events have shown us that racism is alive and well in America. Usually it hides in the dark, but it's been brought to light in recent events. Superman does a lot of growth in this story himself, and helps because he's an alien on Earth too, so he knows what it's like to feel different amongst other people. And he helps the Lees in different ways. And there's also black detectives in it, which is interesting. And this book is easily my number 2 because it doesn't beat you over the head with lessons. It just shows what things are like and how normal people can get caught up in things and how normal people can solve things. In this case, Superman just nudges people in the right direction, but the real heroes are the regular people in this book. Number 2 book. I only have a number 1 and number 2. The rest I all consider great. Also great is Shadow of the Batgirl, a young adult book from DC with Cassandra Cain, homeless and living in the library where Barbara Gordon is the librarian. Cassandra Cain has a mentor. Batgirl hasn't been heard of in years in this city, and I think it's Gotham. But Batgirl hasn't been seen in years, and it's up to Cassandra to decide what she's going to do with her life. Excellent book, top notch, with really top notch art. Don't let the fact that this is for young adults deter you. This is a really good book. Another really good young adult book, Green Lantern Legacy. And in this book, it involves Vietnamese people. I'm having trouble with the mirroring here. Vietnamese people, a kid's grandmother passes away, and the young man finds his grandmother's jade ring. It turns out that his grandmother was a Green Lantern. And it is really fun. It takes the young man on, of course, amazing adventures and tests his willpower and imagination. And this book is great. Lots of fun. One of the better Green Lantern books I've read in a long time. This is by Min Lee and Andy Tong. Shadow the Batgirl was by Sarah Kuhn with art by Nicole Goux. I don't know, Goux. And the last one, which was a lot of fun, by Mariko Tamaki, Harley Quinn Breaking Glass. Harley is the art is great, first of all. Check this art out. Let's see if I can get a good picture of it. Harley is a rebel, and she bails on her home to go live in Gotham City. She gets taken in by drag queens who will protect her, and she has, adventures, things going on. There's a Poison Ivy in the story who's trying to stop gentrification, but she still wants to make the city a better place to live. And there's also a Joker who is exploding buildings in protest of gentrification. So she has to decide whose side is she on, the Kid Joker or the Kid Ivy. And she makes some wrong decisions early on, but this book is super great. I loved it. And you need to consider this strongly. The art is fantastic by Steve Pugh, and Mariko Tamaki. I still haven't read anything bad by her. She's one of my favorite authors, writers. I think she does wonderful stuff. Now, the next book was the big surprise to me in 2020. I think it came out earlier than 2020. Some of these books may have come out earlier, but this is when I read them. And that is the amazingly fun Betty and Veronica. It's by Adam Hughes, who wrote it too. Who knew Adam Hughes could write? I didn't know that. The art, as you can imagine, is great because it's Adam Hughes. He is a really good writer. He sets up the tension. There's, of course, there's rivalry between Betty and Veronica. There's a definite beginning, middle, and end, well written, dryly humorous. It's really funny, and it has a great ending that I didn't see coming. I was wondering how things were going to get resolved, and Hughes does a really good job. He needs to write more, and he needs to, of course, draw the interiors more. He's my favorite cover artist, but he really needs to write some more. If it's Betty and Veronica, great, I'll take it. If that's what Adam Hughes likes, I just want more of Adam Hughes writing on stories like this. Really great. I enjoyed the heck out of this. Paper Girls finally came to an end. And Brian K. Vaughan stuck the landing. This is going to be part of my science fiction video, which is coming up in the next few videos. If you're familiar with Paper Girls, you'll know it's about 4 very different teenage paper girls back. Let's see, video games were just starting. I think it's back in like 1988 is when it starts. Of course, this is book 3, which I read. And let's see, I don't want to give away too much. I think I can show this out of context. The art is by Cliff Chang. It's great. The lettering is great. The coloring is great. And as I said, Brian K. Vaughan totally sticks the ending. It's a time travel book, so it's going to get confusing, and it will help rectify that confusion by the end. But it is time travel, so anything goes. Great book, great ending. I loved all 3 books. Solidly written by Brian K. Vaughan. Great drawings by Cliff Chang. These girls are great in it, and I totally dug the 3rd volume and the series. Book 3 of Criminal came out, and I still have a bookmark in there because I haven't finished the very cool notes at the back. This is, of course, by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. And you all, I think probably everybody out there knows how great this team is. And I probably shouldn't spend that much time on it because I'm sure we're going to review it on Crime Corner, Taylor Brown and I. And it's got Deadly Hands of Criminal and Savage Sword of Criminal, My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies, The Night Callers, Bad Weekend, Orphans. It's got a bunch of great stories in it, and nobody writes crime like Ed Brubaker. Maybe Greg Rucka, but this Criminal Volume 3, waited a long time for it. Fantastic. If you love crime, then you will love this. And I'm not going to make the joke about how it would be a crime if you didn't get it. Darn it, I did make the joke. I didn't mean to. A big surprise is that Matt Fraction has a sense of humor. The only other funny thing I've read by him, I think, is maybe Sex Criminals. He's a riot in Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. Who Killed Jimmy Olsen? You have to get this. It is told in a series of like 3 and 4 page stories with various lots and lots of extra characters, guests that appear. Superman is not in this much. Jimmy wants to solve the problem of who's trying to kill him. He wants to solve the problem himself. Here's one of the few times Superman shows up in the book. Art by Steve Lieber, who's great. I think he's the one that did Superior Foes of Spider-Man. Matt Fraction is a stitch. He writes really great stuff in this book. Jimmy Olsen, I legit laughed out loud many times at this. It even features the cat from Red Lantern, Atroticus, his cat, who barfs like acidy gunk all over the place, and all kinds of extra great characters. It's told really great. I loved this book. It was funny and tons of fun. You'll notice the word fun. I like fun. 2020 needed fun more than any other year in recent memory. And I had a ton of fun with the Jimmy Olsen book. Next is Dragon Hoops, also by Gene Yang. It is the real life story of Gene Yang as a teacher at a high school where basketball is a really big deal. So this is a real life book. He wrote it and illustrated it. It's from First Second. He learns more about basketball. The basketball team has been a centerpiece of the high school where he teaches for many years, and he all of a sudden starts to get into it. He lost interest in basketball long ago, but the high school where he now teaches, it's all anyone can talk about. The men's varsity team having a phenomenal season, blah, 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 blah. Once Gene meets these young all-stars, he realizes that their story is just as thrilling as anything he's seen on a comic book page. He knows he has to follow this epic to the end. What he doesn't know yet is that this season is not only going to change the Dragons' lives, but his own as well. And it's great. Great, great, great. It's pretty thick, or chonky, as my friend Kristen likes to say. So it is a good book. And my headphones keep pulling the camera over. There. How professional am I? Okay, let's see if I can stop. Maybe if I move closer, I can stop pulling it. When I turn my head, I think that's what's doing it. I read this book this year. Oh, I have both copies. It's Darth Vader, Charles Soule. I just did a Star Wars video, and this was prominently mentioned. It is my second. Well, there was 3 great Star Wars books, I think, being put out by Marvel. Star Wars by Jason Aaron, Darth Vader by Kieran Gillen, and Darth Vader by Charles Soule. This and Star Wars I read this, in 2020. That's when I read them. This Darth Vader, this happens, let's see, when does this happen? Early. It happens early. Beginning right where Star Wars Revenge of the Sith ends. Charles Soule does a really good job with Darth Vader. If you're a Star Wars fan or just a comics fan in general, you're going to want to read this. Darth Vader. My favorite book is Kieran Gillen's Darth Vader, but this came pretty darn close. So I highly urge you, in whatever form you can get it. Maybe it's coming out in an omnibus. I actually don't know. This year, 2021. But if it is, you should grab it. Trade paperback, oversized hardcover, whatever you want. Make sure you get Darth Vader. Oh, and here's the other book that I read last year. I've got all 3 Star Wars books. This is by Jason Aaron. I can't recommend this enough. This is right in the immediate aftermath of the first movie, or to you, the 4th movie, A New Hope. Whatever. The art is quite good by John Cassaday, and lots of different stories are told, and they are told well. Some people didn't like all the stories. That's cool. You don't have to like all the stories. I'm just telling you what I liked. I liked all the stories. This is a great book, and I know it came out in an omnibus. I decided to keep my oversized hardcover. The 3 of them. This is book 1. This is a really cool cover. This is book 2, I believe. And this is book 3, and it features all your favorites. It's even got a Yoda story that I enjoyed a lot. And really top notch. Really, really good. It's like, it's good enough that I considered, it's in canon. All these Marvel books are in canon. I'm not one of those people that cares about canon that much as I do a good story, but they were so good it made me feel like the movies were continuing, like these were the further adventures of Luke and Leia. So I highly recommend it. You've got to read it. here is a book from Dark Horse that I believe Omnicat and I reviewed, and it's about, well, it's got a cat in it, so of course Omnicat's going to like it. It's called Strayed, and Strayed involves an astral traveling cat and her owner, and the cat can, when she's astral traveling, discover planets. That's all I'm going to say, because to say more would wreck it. The art is really good. The fact that it's an astral traveling cat should have already sold you on it. If I said any more, it would wreck it. But it is a high adventure in space with an astral traveling cat. I mean, come on, it's great. It is a really good read. It involves the cat astral travels searching for planets that sustain life. That's really all I'm going to say. But look at this. It's gorgeous. So this is definitely one of my favorite books of the year, Strayed. And the second book of Sonata came out from Image. You'll be seeing some of these books like Strayed and Sonata in the science fiction video I do. I'm quite sure I've talked about Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Sonata. First of all, let me get a representative picture of this person's art. I'm going to make sure I say his name right. But this art is great. It's about two different species that land on a planet. One wants to live there peacefully. The other is more warmongering. And there's already an indigenous species there. There are sleeping giants and they're considered gods. And you don't want to disturb them on this planet. The art is remarkable. You don't want to wake the gods. But if you do, not bad things always happen. And the indigenous race has some secrets of their own. Well, they were there first, and they have some secrets of the planet of their own. When conflict erupts between the two settling species on the planet. I highly recommend volumes 1 and 2 of Sonata, or you might want to wait for a hardcover, because since I bought the 2 trades, it's going to get a hardcover. That's the new rule. Whenever I buy trades of something, it immediately gets a hardcover. So definitely check out Sonata. Great fun. Lots and lots of fun with a really well-written... Oh, I didn't say the artist's name. Story, David Hine and Brian Haberlin. Art, Brian Haberlin. 1 and 2 volumes, and it's done. 2 volumes. Strayed is just 1 volume. Sonata, 2 volumes, but it's done. On a Sunbeam. This is another chonkster by Tilly Walden. I read 3 books by Tilly Walden last year: Spinning, On a Sunbeam, and Are You Listening? I liked all of them. This was my favorite. The art is very tiny and everything's sort of tinily written. Tilly Walden writes and illustrates this. It's a story about... it's 2 stories about a girl out in a space academy and a group of people that go to... This is set in the... I don't know when it's set. I'm assuming it's the future, but you can travel, or maybe it's an alternate universe. This is what the ships look like. The ship is like a giant fish, and it's called the Sunbeam. So there's the school academy, and then there's a crew of people who go to other planets that are ancient, that need the ruins cleared so that a conglomerate can come in and put up malls and apartments and houses and turn it back into a living planet. So they're always finding archaeologically interesting things. Whoa, that took my tongue in a knot. So this is a great book. I highly recommend it. It's not expensive. It's a hardback. It really stuck with me. It's a love story too. So science fiction or love story? Let's see what it's categorized as. No, nothing. Okay, so I say it's a science fiction love story. The best Batman book I read this year? Batman Universe by Brian Michael Bendis. I believe this is a collection of the Walmart books. And it's got a Batman that's a little different. It's got a Batman that's a little different, but he's a joy to read. And there are lots of cool guests, from Jonah Hex to Green Lantern. And this is the most fun I've had with a Batman comic in at least a year. I've had a lot of fun with a lot of Batman comics, but Brian Michael Bendis wrote a book I think is fantastic. I thought this Batman universe, he should be writing Batman and not Well, I haven't read Superman, so I shouldn't say shouldn't be writing Superman. But he should be writing Batman if this is going to be the Batman. It's a blast to read. I had an absolute blast reading it, as Batman has various time-traveling adventures with Green Lantern, Jonah Hex, Green Arrow, and Gorilla Grodd, I think, or Vandal Savage, and all these other. It's just a great book. Here he is with Jonah Hex, who's one of my favorite characters. So I highly recommend Batman Universe by Bendis. Two more books from Ed Brubaker. Pulp, a Western. Cruel Summer, another crime book. This involves Teague Lawless's son, Ricky. Teague Lawless was the protagonist in the criminal books, but you saw some of Ricky in the criminal book too also. Cruel Summer is completely separate from criminal and has to be read. If you're a criminal fan, crime fan of good comic books, this is Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips again. It's Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. And this is also Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips tackling the Western mode. This book's unbelievably great too. So, whenever I say Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, you should just say, I got to order it. This is about, let's see, Max Winter used to have a different name and a different life a long time ago. Now in 1930s New York, Max survives by writing thinly disguised tales of the man he used to be for the Pulp magazines. Tales of the Forgotten Frontier and a Wild West outlaw. Yeah. And it deals with his adventures in 1930s New York with Nazis in Europe. Max starts to think like an outlaw again, and top-notch crime again, this time with a Western flavor. Pulp. And the fourth installment of Castle in the Stars. This I think I've already done a video on Castle in the Stars. You can go back in my library to check out. I did all 1, 2, 3, and 4. They come out every September. The author and writer Alice. It looks like Alex Alice, but he's French, so it's Alice. So my French viewers can correct me if they want. The art is great, and it's about the discovery of a substance back in the 1860s that enabled space travel back then. And it deals with this is a Frenchman on Mars. So, book three, they were in the moon, and now they've gone from Earth to Mars. And it all deals with, at this point in the story, we are now dealing with a full-fledged villainy trying to take down governments on the Earth, a specific government on the Earth in Europe, and establishing themselves as the power in the stars. Well written, well drawn, tons of fun. This is, all right, I'll name this book three of my books of the year. This is my third favorite book of the year. If you haven't already, please check out my video on Castle in the Stars. I really love that series. And we're getting down to the last few volumes. Whoops, that's number one, so I can't let it go yet. Let me adjust this. Wonder Woman Dead Earth by Daniel Warren Johnson came out at the end of the year. Wonder Woman is suspended in cryogenic chambers, a sleep chamber, and she awakens in the future to see a completely ruined Earth. Where's the Justice League? Where are the people? What's going on? This is a very different Wonder Woman story, and Daniel Warren Johnson tells and illustrates it really well. This is one of my all-time favorite Wonder Woman stories, next to the Hikatea by Greg Rucka. This is fantastic about what it's like in the future when mankind has wiped itself out, and the people she thought she could trust, maybe she really shouldn't have trusted them. I don't want to say more than that, because part of the fun is finding out what happened while she was asleep and what happened before she went to sleep, and the catastrophe that happened to Earth. This is top-notch reading. This is one of the best Wonder Woman books you can read. Wonder Woman Dead Earth. Daniel Warren Johnson, creator of Murder Falcon. Something is Killing the Children, volumes 1 and 2. Something is Killing the Children. This looks like a Jenny Frison cover. This is book 1. There is a monster in the woods that is killing the children, and this deals with the monster hunting society that comes to track and kill these monsters. There's a lot going on in these books. A lot of psychological terror, a lot of horror, self-doubt, a strong female protagonist who looks out for people, but she tends to go rogue. This is by James Tynion IV. This is a great book. You really need to get it. Of course, I've already got the 2 paperbacks. It's not done. It's ongoing. And since I got the paperbacks and will continue to get the paperbacks, there's a solid chance that it's going to come out in hardcover. So you may want to wait, or you may want to get the trades right away and enjoy them, because this is one of my best books. Sorry, one of my favorite books of 2020. And second to last, East of West finally comes to a conclusion. It feels like I've been reading this for a long time. I read this when I finished. First of all, you can't, if you tackle East of West, you need to tackle it all at once, because there's so many concepts. Jonathan Hickman. So there's so many concepts and such intellectually stimulating, interesting things going on that you can't just walk away and take a break, or you'll you'll forget some of the stuff. So even though these books are enormous, I would take 1, 2, and 3 and try and read them all in the same time period. Nick Dragotta did the art, which I think his art is perfect for this. And the most important part, Hickman stuck the landing. Not necessarily the last page type of ending, but the way the whole thing culminates was perfect. I loved how Brian K. Vaughan stuck the landing in Paper Girls, and I loved the ending here in East of West. And if you're not familiar with East of West, it's in the future. The Civil War, well, it's an alternate universe where the Civil War turned out differently. Science and technology took over earlier. The Native Americans have all the technology. The United States is sectioned off, and they worship this particular book that is supposed to be calling to the end of days, and the death personified is looking for his son and his wife. He is split off from the other 3 horsemen who want to kill him now, as they are looking for his son, who is considered the beast. And I don't know if I want to say any more to ruin it, but the 4 horsemen are there, the apocalypse, because it's supposed to be the end of the world. And Death has a soft spot for his wife and son. Who knew? It's great. Jonathan Hickman did a great job with it. I consider it a modern classic to me. I felt it was fantastic. And the number 1 book for me in 2020, my favorite book, Harleen. And I'm going to give his name another shot. Stepan Shaik. I don't know. Maybe I got it right. It is about Harleen Quinzel and her life before and during when she first met the Joker. She is a very good student. She turns out to be a very good psychologist or psychiatrist. And it is a study of her before she meets the Joker, and it is a study of her when she meets the Joker. It is written really, really well. Really well. And I can see I keep pulling my head, so the camera keeps turning. I'm sorry about that. But Stepan Shaik not only does a fantastic job with his artwork, but he writes Harleen extremely realistically, very well. It's not a funny book. It's kind of a traumatic book. He's studying 2 damaged people and what brings them together. And this is my top book of the year. It is nothing short of remarkable. It is really a great book studying the human condition with really, really great art. And so ends our journey into Omnidog's favorite books of 2020. Thank you for tuning in. Please leave a like. Please subscribe. And please feel free to leave a comment. Tell me what your favorite books were of 2020. And as always, peace and love, peace and love. Thank you for watching.